I'd like to call Don Chesley, research engineer at the Stevens Institute of Technology, to the microphone.
Thank you. Thank you, Councilwoman Brewer and the panel for doing all this work for an important cause. You might be wondering why somebody from New Jersey is here in Brooklyn. My work involves the maritime industry, science, and education taking place on the harbor waters of New York. And Brooklyn abuts those waters. Some of what we do would benefit greatly from broadband access, and for on the water, that obviously means Wi-Fi, WiMAX. For example, recreational boaters, commercial boaters, even municipal boats. I've been out on Osprey of New York City's DEP. They have broadband access marginally through a cell phone modem and transmit important scientific data back and forth. Anyway, as far as Stevens, the place I work mostly, we have data collection of New York Harbor water for environmental purposes, scientific studies, and so on. Again, the bottleneck in obtaining this information is the communications. Again, we have to depend on some expensive cell phone modem type communications. With available Wi-Fi or WiMAX, there'd be an explosion in the amount of sensing equipment out there, the amount of data available, and that's very important these days with environmental crises facing us and so on. And finally, the education. We have mounted on Schooner Pioneer of South Street Seaport, which takes school kids out on trips, some equipment of the same type. It senses water quality parameters like salinity, temperature, and so on, broadcasts it live on the web with the track of the boat, so fellow classmates at their schools can actually track and see what's going on. Again, expensive communications limits proliferation of this. Clearwater is very interested in doing it as well. There's a concrete proposal, something like a WiMAX Center on Governor's Island, which overlooks the harbor. Brooklyn, and in fact the whole city, Manhattan as well, have stakes in Governor's Island. It would be also of benefit to communities close to the shoreline. Brooklyn Navy Yard, for example, may not be within reach of that particular site, but they are one of the places I know of from personal experience with issues having very poor connectivity and crippling business efforts there as a result. So to wrap it up, basically, I'd like to draw attention to this constituency of waterborne and shoreline people where WiMAX has clear lines of sight, long ranges, can facilitate important science, important education goals, and also safety, weather information for recreational boaters in certain situations. That's pretty much it. Thank you for your attention. And
thank you. Questions for Dr. Chesley?
Just interesting. I mean, because you're right. I mean, the clearest line of sight is over water. So curious, going back to Mr. Dillon's remarks, there has to be some remuneration on the other side for the provider. What do you see as the answer to that question, given the waterfront initiative you're talking about?
You mean if it were free to people
right.
on the waterfront?
In other words, if there were WiMAX available over water, would your corporation avail themselves of it if there were a fee attendant to it?
Well, certainly Stevens would be very happy to have a lower cost, but still not free communication service, and as would, I'm sure, DEP, New York City DEP, and many other local institutions, educational, scientific, and other.
And are cell phones active, let's say, 20 miles out in the water?
The cell phone modem on board Pioneer is a sort of brick-shaped thing. It has gotten a clear signal and produced a track on the web from here all the way out Long Island Sound as far as Greenport. And I don't remember seeing any point along the way where coverage was too poor to send the signal.
Right. Thank you.
Thank you.